For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Regular season is over. Welcome to the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs. Utah, this is your maiden voyage into postseason hockey, and we cannot wait. Mike Fulta and Adrian Denny here with you. We're your Hockey Night in Utah radio crew. The Mammoth finished up the regular season with a 5-3 loss against the St. Louis Blues on Thursday, but who cares? We've got game one coming up on Sunday night at the Fortress T-Mobile Arena in Vegas against the Golden Knights. We just learned our puck drop time. It's going to be an evening game, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Pacific in Vegas for game one. We also learned the game times of games 2 and 3. Game 2 will be Tuesday, April 21st at, my glasses don't deceive me here, 7:30 in the evening Mountain Time. That'll be 6:30 local Pacific. And then game 3, Utah's first home playoff game, will be 7:30 Mountain Time. And that will be on Friday, April 24th. So, Adrian, that's how I welcome you to the show. We've got our dates, we've got our times, and we've got a series against the Vegas Golden Knights, the winners of the Pacific Division.
Let's get to it, Mike. Let's hear straight off the hop from our guys talking about the series coming up with Vegas. Clayton Keller, Lawson, Crowse, Michael Carcone, and head coach Andre Tourigny leading us off on this Friday free-for-all edition of Mammoth Daily. We're ready to roll.
Yeah, very experienced, good team. Lots of skill. They play hard, so it's going to be a great test for us. And like I said, we're super excited and up for the challenge.
I think as a professional athlete, this is the time you want to be in. You want to be playing in playoffs. You want to be giving yourself a chance to win a championship, and it starts here. It starts now.
Oh, we got to be ready. We know they're going to be ready, and they've been through it before, a lot of those guys. So, just bring your A game, and yeah.
It's a new season. It's a new intensity that will be totally different. I think during the season, sometimes you play against team, you can be in a slum. They are on a really good streak. It's everything. The numbers you have from those games can be taken out of context. We play certain game extremely well this year, and you look at our number, those games, they dominate that team. Oh, yeah, but that might have been our best game of the year. So it doesn't mean that will be exactly the same on game one of the playoffs. So I think, for me, what happened during the season, it's really not that relevant at this point.
So that were some of the leaders from the Mammoth and head coach Andre Tourigny on this matchup. And Adrian, I thought it was kind of interesting how Bear kind of disposed of the regular season matchup against Vegas. Utah beat the Golden Knights twice out of 3 times. Weren't any close games between Utah and Vegas this season. The closest game was decided by 3 goals. The Mammoth lost to Vegas 4-1 in the early in the season. A few days later, they beat Vegas 5-1 and then shut out Vegas 4-0 in March. So, as we know, Adrian, the postseason is totally different, and Bear was reminding us of that fact right there.
Yeah, Mike. When the Mammoth beat Vegas 4-0 on March 19th, there was something wrong with Vegas. Something was off. Yeah. That wasn't Vegas. I mean, 3 pucks went in right off the hop, but I was surprised they dismissed Bruce Cassidy, because with 8 games left in the season, you don't expect it. But couldn't you sense something was just off with Vegas when the Mammoth beat them 4-0 less than a month.
Yeah, and that was a stretch where the Golden Knights had lost 12 of 14. It was the stretch that got Bruce Cassidy fired. Here's something interesting, Adrian. Utah was 2-3 or 2-1 against Vegas in the 3 meetings. The Golden Knights won the 5-on-5 expected goal battle in all 3 games, which I thought was interesting, despite the fact that Utah won 2 of the 3. So, I mean, you'll remember back to that 4-0 win against Vegas in March. They hit, what was it, 4 posts that they hit? Vejmelka made a bunch of really good saves. Like, that easily could have been a 4-3 game, a 3-3 game. But everything went wrong for the Golden Knights. So I don't put a ton of stock in the regular season results either between the 2 teams. It'll be interesting to see what Vegas we get, Adrian. Do we get the Vegas under John Tortorella we've come to know for the last 8 regular season games when they're 7-0-1? Or do we get something in the middle of what they were and what they've turned into?
For the Mammoth, they always talk about controlling the controllables. So, Mike, big things, I think. The Mammoth with 2-0 leads in 5 of their 6 all-time games against Vegas. But when you get a lead, you got to keep the lead. You got to win the special teams battle. You got to be tight on your details, right? It's just the little simple game management things that we talk about that I think are going to be the biggest things here as Utah goes into the playoffs with the 5th least NHL games among a team in the playoffs, but the 5th most among defensemen. But for me, I think we're going to be talking about the little stuff that we talked about earlier this season when the team wasn't winning. Last year when the team was struggling to hold leads. It's when you get a lead, you got to keep it. You got to come out. You got to bring it. You don't be tentative. Just come out and you got to play. You got to play fast, and you got to take advantage of chances to bury them. You got to kill that big penalty and cash in on the power play. But for the Mammoth, scoring a lot of goals to close the regular season, they didn't always win the special teams. They didn't always, hold the opposition to a perfect defensive game. There was stuff where, games where the opposing team scored 3, 4, 5. So it just comes down to details and game management for me here. It's that simple because you've proved you can get leads, but can you keep the leads?
So let's go through some Vegas basics here for you. Jack Eichel leads the team with 90 points, even though he missed a couple weeks. Pavel Dorofeev, one of the more underrated guys in the league. He leads the Golden Knights with 37 goals on the year. 20 of his 37 goals have come on the power play, second most power play goals in the NHL. Golden Knights are a team that has a nice dispersion of scoring. They have 6 guys with 20 or more goals this year, tied with Utah and a couple other teams for the most in the NHL. Last year, they beat the Minnesota Wild and in 6 games in their first round series before Edmonton kind of took them to the woodshed. It was a bit of an embarrassing series for Vegas, one that they would like to avenge this year. Something that I thought was interesting, AD, is they've played in the 3rd most 1-goal games. Like, you talk about managing leads. I totally agree. That's so important. This Golden Knights team, they have championship pedigree from 2023, but this year, this core has played in a lot of close games. Now, they also have the 2nd most overtime losses in the league. And as we know, there's no 3-on-3, there's no shootout in the playoffs. So a lot of those games in a playoff style overtime very easily could have swung in Vegas's favor, and they could have won some more games if they were staying out of the 3-on-3 or the shootout. And they've tied for the 7th most comeback wins this season. So, as you were saying, managing leads, managing situations, it's something we spent a lot of the season focusing on for the team. It felt like the Mammoth took steps in that department.
You know what, Mike, I think is going to be a huge factor in this series because you look at Vegas as a team. One thing they've struggled with this year is goaltending. Their goals saved above expected is a -30. So you've got that, but sometimes you have defensive teams like, say, Colorado, for instance. They can bring in two guys that weren't starters at the beginning of the year last year, Scott Wedgwood, Mackenzie Blackwood, and you can't tell. Vegas could do that with Carter Hart and Aiden Hill. So we'll see what we have in terms of the goaltending matchup, but Mike, Karel Vejmelka has been really, really good against Vegas for his career, going back to the preseason in 21-22 when he made an NHL roster just out of the blue with a 7-0 shutout win. Vejmelka against Vegas has a .938 save percentage, a 1.93 goals against average, and a 3-2 record in his last 7 games against Vegas. Going back to 2023, the Golden Knights have used 4 goalies this year, and all 4 have, kind of gone through it. As of late, Carter Hart finished things off, coming back from an injury, 11-3-3 with a 2.71 goals against average and an 891 save percentage. That's kind of John Tortorella's guy, Mike. He was with him in Philadelphia, and he's ridden him in Vegas on the way to that 7-0-1 record.
Yeah, Veggie's been really good against the Golden Knights ever since he's been in Utah. Not as much in Arizona, but yeah, he had the shutout in March against Vegas. He's played the Golden Knights really well. Kind of a small sample size, but it is interesting with Carter Hart. I mean, you mentioned him. He's 6-0 since coming back from a knee injury that took him out 3 months. He's allowed 10 goals in the last 6 games. Like he has been lights out for the Golden Knights. How about this? Vegas, you mentioned the goal saved above expected. They had the second worst team save percentage before John Tortorella got there. Ever since John Tortorella took over, so the final 8 games of the regular season, the Golden Knights have the best team save percentage. So Bruce Cassidy's sitting there like, come on, I couldn't have gotten a couple saves, fellas. It is remarkable, and it's hard for me to tell how much a head coach can impact goaltending, Adrian. Certainly different systems can help goaltenders more than other systems. But we know that Tortorella didn't really change the systems all that much with Vegas. He's not there to like rearrange everything tactically. He's there to kind of re-inspire the group. But for whatever reason, Carter Hart feels a whole lot more inspired, and so does this team. And I'm not ready to call John Tortorella a goalie whisperer, AD, but he's coached 3 Vezina trophies in his coaching career. Sergei Bobrovsky had the best years of his NHL tenure with Tortorella and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Henrik Lundqvist won a Vezina trophy with Tortorella in the New York Rangers as well. So there have been a lot of goalies that Torts has had. Now, they've been good goalies, but there have been a lot of goalies that have had great success under John Tortorella. And, special teams, goaltending, those are things that can steal you a game, steal you a series in the NHL.
And Vegas has a top 10 team in both power play and penalty killing this year. So as I bring up for Utah, that's definitely something that you want to manage. Vegas is a team that excels in that. And Mike, I also think it's a team that could cover up the bruises in terms of the goals saved above expected if it does reemerge in the playoffs, just because they're a strong defensive team that's structured. So it may look like something to exploit on paper. I think Vegas can get through it. And for Utah, Karel Vejmelka is a guy that can win him a series. He's played good against Vegas, finishes the season second in the NHL with 38 wins.
And I think the scary thing with Vegas is what you're touching on. They've actually been a really good defensive team all year. When you pop the hood and look at their analytics, they've been top 5 defensively the entire season. Now they're just getting the saves. They're looking at the before and after John Tortorella numbers, the expected goals against, which as Russell Statman Russ would tell you, Russ Brooks. Some people love that stat. Some people hate it. but the expected goals against is the exact same before and after John Tortorella. The actual goals is just way better. It's goaltending, right? Like the systems, the D is the same. It's just the goaltending that's way better. Here's another thing that scares me a little bit, AD, getting away from goaltending, is that you pop the hood even and you tinker around a little bit. You take an even deeper look. The forecheck for Vegas has gotten a lot better under John Tortorella. That's one of his calling cards is establishing a really strong forecheck. They were not very good at that before under Cassidy this year. They've been really good at it in the last 8 games under Tortorella. And you think back to the Vegas teams that would scare you, the Vegas teams that reached the Cup Finals in 2018 and 23, they were a really good forechecking team.
And Mike, I think they just needed a breath of fresh air. I think they could sense in the front office that things had run thin, things had run dry with Bruce Cassidy. And I talked about it, earlier here on Mammoth Daily. There was something wrong with him in March when Utah played him, and just kind of taking, that cloud out of the workspace and bringing in, John Tortorella, who's a cloud of his own, but it's been one that's helped Vegas kind of start fresh, get rolling, and 7-0-1 is pretty good. But against Seattle to clinch that Pacific Division the other night, they were behind, but I don't think there was ever really any doubt that they were going to seal it. They were the better team, and you could tell that they were on a mission to do something.
Well, if I'm Vegas, which I'm not, I'm wearing mountain blue, but if I'm Vegas, I think one of the bigger storylines is Mitch Marner. And we've all seen the negative clips of Mitch Marner come playoff times with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And after game 5, his numbers take a huge dip. That's a statistical fact. So now that he's insulated with a different core, with some Stanley Cup winners, like, do we get Mitch Marner unlocked? He's a very good defensive forward. He can play the center, play the wing, and what Marner do we get if this series goes 6 or 7 games? So I think that's a big factor. I think the defensive ability of forwards in this series is a huge storyline as well when you think of Marner, and also Mark Stone, who's one of the best defensive wingers in the game, along with Jack Eichel and Tomas Hertl, guys who are pretty responsible. Vegas down the middle is as deep as anybody in the NHL. That's going to be a really hard matchup for Utah, for Schmaltz, Cooley, Kerfoot, Stenlund, whoever's in that pivot spot. But who's able to shut down who? We know that Nick Schmaltz, we've talked about him maybe getting a couple Selke votes with how good he's been defensively. How well can he match up with the top guns for Vegas, shift in and shift out? For Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther, the same thing. I mean, those guys are going to be tested in a huge way. And then I think the health of the Mammoth is something to ponder as well. Hoping to get Jack McBain and Barrett Hayton back. If you get those guys back for the playoffs, maybe they probably go on the 4th line, because I don't think you touch the top 3 lines with how good they've been recently. So is your 4th line Kevin Stenlund, Jack McBain, and Barrett Hayton? If so, that's a pretty darn good 4th line. And that's 4 lines that all of a sudden can score.
I think the Mammoth are really happy, Mike, to echo your point with their 3 lines that they've ran with for the last couple weeks as they finished the regular season by winning 6-9. Keller, Schmaltz, Crowse, Yamamoto, Cooley, Guenther, Peterka with Kerfoot and Michael Carcone, and then Mike that 4th line with Tanev, O'Brien, and Stenlund, and as you said, you get McBain, Hayton back. They're going on the 4th line. I think that the Mammoth love that. For me, Mike, the biggest thing might be just don't get out playoffs by Vegas in your first ever playoffs. Don't be looking at games like, I wish we would have done this differently. I wish we wouldn't have been passive. I wish we would have taken advantage of this situation. That to me is the biggest thing. Don't get out playoffed by Vegas, because playoff experience is huge, and that's a team that's made the playoffs in 8 of 9 years and knows how to get through it.
And Bear talked about it. He's talked about, be yourself. Be yourself. Just know that it's going to take 105% of yourself, but not somebody else, you. And I think we saw that against Washington a couple weeks ago when the Mammoth kind of got dragged down into the muck. That wasn't really the game they wanted to play against the Capitals in that situation. And so that's going to be part of it too against Vegas, who's got some rough and tough customers. Don't get thrown off your game. Play your game. Do what you're really good at and do it really well. So anything else on the series? We'll continue to break it down, but anything else on our preview here before we get to some shout outs?
Just we've checked every box, Mike. Clinch the playoffs, first wild card, opponent, series schedule. We're ready to roll, baby.
Yeah.
Sunday night, 8:00, T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Can't wait. That is game one, 8:00 Mountain Time, 7:00 Pacific. If you're heading down I-15, joining us on the Strip in Sin City. But AD, let's get to some shout outs, some folks that came up and saw us Thursday night real quick. It was I had Nash stop by with his daughter, and I wrote his daughter's name down wrong, so I'm not going to say it, but it was Nash and Company. So thanks for coming by. Mayor from Bountiful came by as well, and then I got to meet Taylor and Peter. Peter had some face paint on. They're from West Jordan, and older brother Rudy was not in attendance, but I wanted to shout out Rudy as well.
Yeah, throw a shout out to Walt, Dave and Sarah, Miss Utah Mammoth. Mare, saw her as well. It was great to meet Mare. She watches us on YouTube as she works in Bountiful at the office. And then Mercedes, Tanner, Joshua, and Kaylee stopped by during the second intermission. And on my way up to the Mountain Blue Studios, caught Derek on his way out of the building with his wife on Thursday night. So had a blast. Thanks everybody for coming up. And that's what it is. We love it. The hangout between 6 and 6:30 for a 7:00 face-off, or in the case on Thursday night, 5 and 5:30. It was a blast.
We're gonna have a whole lot more of those, and as always, feel free to come by, even if you're new, even if it's your first time listening or watching Mammoth Daily. Come by, say hi. Don't be a stranger. We're all one big family, and if me or AD all of a sudden have to go put on our headsets, don't feel bad. We just every once in a while have to do our jobs. So we love it. Everybody coming up and saying hi. We try to talk to everybody, and I'm forgetting people that we said hi to the other night. But we're appreciative of this Mammoth family.
We've got a couple YouTube shout outs to get to, some really fun stuff. Fernando is already in Vegas with Mini Tusky, Mike. Sunday can't come soon enough. So we'll see Fernando down there. Throw a shout out to Weston. Great regular season show all year, Mike and AD. Let's see how Mammoth Daily comes out and performs during the playoff run here. And wrapping things up, want to throw a shout out to Joanna as well, Mike. She's going to be in Vegas for game 2. So add Joanna to the mix. Gordon checks in, says, love the show. I remember Adrian calling Grizzlies games. Well, Gordon, I appreciate it. I know you, and great to have you checking in here in 2.0 of the broadcast career. And Mike, as we get ready to send things out here on this Friday free-for-all edition before we get to the bracket, Carlene from Brazil, Adam from the UK, Code Fresh, Kevin, Matt, and Mike. Have we ever got more comments in response to a guest than Russ, our stat guy? Everybody lining up to say how much they loved Russ. Snooks and Hooks, Skylar, Batman, Tad. We got pages and pages of Russ. Sam, Austin, Matt, and KR, Bryce, and iLibrarian. So Russ was an awesome guest, our Thursday expert. He said he wasn't an expert. He was. Mammoth Nation concurring with us that Russ is an expert, Mike.
Russ is indeed an expert, and he makes us, I can't even say look like experts because nobody can do that, but he makes us passable. He makes us he gives us a passing grade. We copy off Russ's paper on the
We
exam
do.
night in and
We
night
do.
out. So
Very, very unabashed, Mike. So we've got our free for all coming up. We're going to take a look at the NHL bracket, Mike. We'll pick some series that we think are fun, break them down, go from there, and then we'll tell you how you can win some lower bowl tickets coming up in our third period with the fun segment. So, Mike, great job. Another fun reaction show. Playoffs are coming, baby. We'll be here. We'll have it all on Hockey Night in Utah.
can't wait.
Get ready. Your Friday free-for-all is here.
All right, time for our Friday free-for-all here as we get you ready for your weekend, a playoff weekend for the Utah Mammoth. And AD, we have our bracket set. I'm a big bracket guy. Like, when the March Madness bracket comes out, I print that thing off. I carry it around with me. I put a lot of effort into it. You know that. I love brackets. Stanley Cup bracket doesn't quite have the 64 teams like the March Madness one does. But, gosh, when you see that logo on there, like, there's just something about seeing the first NHL 2026 Stanley Cup playoff bracket sitting there ready to be filled out.
And Mike, one thing the Stanley Cup playoffs has in common with March Madness, it's not usually chalky. There's usually an upset or two. There's a team that comes from somewhere you didn't expect. And, Mike, as we finalized the bracket on Thursday night, we were, anticipating one of 9 different scenarios that could have happened in the Western Conference, and it stayed chalky as you could get. Edmonton blew out the Vancouver Canucks to lock up that second place spot in the division. Anaheim in a back and forth game in Nashville beat the Predators, and that left the second to last game of the night, LA at Calgary, meaningless. So it'll be the Kings as the second wild card spot. So nothing changed hands, and everything really for the last 5-6 days, Mike, stayed intact. Nothing wacky, nothing crazy. We had things that could have happened, but everybody stayed in their spot, including the Utah Mammoth of the spot that they've been in since February 2nd. That's the first wild card spot in the Western Conference.
You can, by the way, join the NHL's Bracket Challenge. You can go online. It's bracketchallenge.nhl.com if you really want to jump in one of those leagues. Adrian, I got a question for you. Looking at this bracket, what is the one series? Give me one series out of each conference that you need as a fan to go 7 games.
Mike, Tampa Bay Lightning with that team and the Montreal Canadiens with that team. Montreal's been on a similar path of Utah. They're one of the youngest teams in the NHL. They're back in the playoffs. Last year, they fell in the first round. They're back at it again. But the Tampa Bay Montreal, I think, is going to be a lot of fun, Mike. I'm intrigued by Boston Buffalo too. Boston coming out of nowhere, the quick retool. Buffalo, if Boston came out of nowhere, came out of outer space to not only make the playoffs but win the Atlantic Division. So I'm excited about all of it. Our first game getting going, Mike, on Saturday at 1 p.m. is going to be Ottawa and Carolina, a team that we saw, less than a week ago at the Delta Center, but the Senators found their way back into the playoffs through lots of turmoil. Carolina, is this going to be the year, Mike, that the Hurricanes advance out of the second round? Best record in the Eastern Conference for them.
I love Carolina. They're just a machine, right? And especially in a 7-game series, I feel so confident with Carolina. I don't feel that confident with them against Ottawa. Ottawa, to me, might be the one team in the bracket, the one kind of underseeded team that I look at and say, I give them the don't want to play them label, if that makes sense. Where it's a team that maybe they're not at the top of the division, maybe they don't have the one next to their name, but you see them in your bracket and you're like, oh gosh, that's gonna be tough. Who's that team for you that like if you had to give them that label of, oh gosh, I hope we don't see them, even if it's not a top team?
Gosh, Mike, I think you stole mine, but maybe we go with Boston and Jeremy Swayman, who had a heck of a season in between the pipes for the Bruins, as they're going to take on a Buffalo team, Mike, making the playoffs for the first time in 15 seasons. And they're a young team. And we talked about them. They're kind of meat and potatoes out there in terms of, having a lot of guys that do a lot of things well. Yeah. Mike, a series I think is going to be a lot of fun. How about a battle of Pennsylvania with two teams that weren't really expected to be in it? Mike, my co-host in Tucson, Brett Farah, who did color with me on television. He was the sports editor of the Arizona Daily Star, and he was also my co-host on our weekly radio show, lives in Pittsburgh now. And he's got this all planned out. He's going to the Pirates game on Saturday for the Paul Skeens bobblehead giveaway. And he's already tweeted at the Penguins asking if he can bring the bobblehead into the game, just logistically planning everything out. But a 2-3 with Pittsburgh and the Philadelphia Flyers. Mike, can that series not go 7 games with those two?
I think that's two of the top guys for the Jack Adams Award too, right? Like two teams. Pittsburgh was picked by a lot of people to finish at or near the bottom. Philadelphia not far ahead of them. And look at the odds that are put on this. It's a pick 'em, basically. It's a coin flip between Sidney Crosby and a rejuvenated Penguins team that still has a Hall of Fame core. Like the Penguins were picked to finish 30th, 31st by most people. But they still have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang. Like they still have some of the world's best players. Philadelphia Flyers don't have any of those guys. They've got the Travi, Travis Sanheim, Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett, who I think is really, really impressive. It's a totally, totally different feel where the Penguins still have some of that like Hall of Fame shine to their story, and the Philadelphia Flyers are just the mutts. They're the mutts of the Metro, and Rick Tocchet dragged them all the way to the playoffs. So two totally different stories for me, and yeah, really interested to see how that one. And could we see a run from Stu Skinner and the Penguins, right? That's the other angle. He got chased out of Edmonton, the Edmonton boy, and now he's with a totally different team. Could he lead a Sidney Crosby Penguins team to a conference final or a cup final? I mean, that is an incredibly interesting series as well.
So we'll be watching that one. That's the third game of the day on Saturday. So that's your Eastern Conference, Mike. Let's go out west. Let's start with it. Let's lead the series that we've known was coming since late October. The Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. Dallas is going to have home ice advantage in this one. Minnesota traded for Quinn Hughes. They made some other big buys at the deadline. So did Dallas. But Mike, it's going to be another nuts 2 versus 3 in the Central Division. You remember last year it was Dallas and Colorado going to 7 games, with Dallas erasing the 2-goal deficit in the third to beat the Avs and break their hearts. Head coach Andre Tourigny told us after the game last night, like it's the playoffs, man. Like one of those two teams is going to be out in the first round.
The first round of the playoffs is the best 2 weeks of the entire calendar year. Truly is. And it's because we get series like this in the first round. Like I know the Dallas and the Minnesota fans hate the way the playoffs are set up, but we're going to get these epic 7-game series in the first round, and you're going to be able to turn on your TV on a Monday night, and you're going to be able to go from like a Boston Buffalo 4-3 dogfight to Dallas and Minnesota headed to OT, and you're going to just sit in front of your TV and watch the entire thing. And then you're going to wake up and do it again with a whole nother set of teams, including Utah, right? So look at the odds on this. Like, this is FanDuel's partner with the NHL, whatever. You can't bet in Utah, but I like looking at the odds because Vegas makes money. We all know that. Like, the people who make the books in Vegas, they're the smartest sports people in the world for a reason. And I always pay attention to the odds they put on these things because it tells you they have all the information, and here is their information presented to you. It's basically a pick 'em, Adrian. There's a slight advantage for Dallas, but for me, that's home ice baked into this, baked into these odds. So you basically have two teams that are totally equal. And I mean, this is the series that everybody wants to see go 7, right? Myself included.
And double overtime if we could.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know Dallas has been a little banged up, some of their star players, Heiskanen and Hintz at the end of the year, but are those guys going to be healthy, by the way? Are they healthy coming into round 1?
Based on what I've heard, Mike, is, you read between the lines, kind of got the impression. If not, they'll be there at some point, they expect.
Okay. So they're close, though. They're close. It's a Quinn Hughes. It sounds stupid to say this, but could it be a Quinn Hughes coming out party? Like, Quinn Hughes has been on Vancouver teams that have kind of been in the wish-washy middle. They won a playoff round a couple years ago, but I mean, Quinn Hughes with Kirill Kaprizov in front of him, he's never had that in a playoff series before. So I can't wait for this. The goaltending will be interesting for Minnesota, I think, between Gustafsson and Volstead. They've got some options there, and Dallas, of course, is going to ride Ottinger, but this is going to be a clash of the Titans, and as a Mammoth fan, I'm glad we get to see it in round 1.
And we'll get to see it on Saturday while we're just hanging out, Mike, getting ready. Mentioned Senators Hurricanes at 1, Dallas hosting Minnesota at 3:30, and the ESPN tripleheader concludes, as we said, with the Flyers and the Penguins. Mike, what about Ducks Oilers with Edmonton hosting home ice advantage and Anaheim returning to the playoffs? You look at this series and, gosh, both teams had their moments leading the Pacific Division, but didn't win it.
Yeah, and we know that Edmonton has a ton of speed, led by Connor McDavid. Obviously, Anaheim can play with great pace, and we've seen it, Adrian. When the Ducks get rolling, and when those young guys, when Gauthier and Carlson, when they start feeling themselves a little bit, like, they're a scary team off the rush. And they've got some grit and some beef on the back end. They've got Jackson Lacombe, they've got Radko Gudas, Jacob Trouba. Like, those are guys that are meant for the playoffs. I know Lacombe hasn't been there yet, but I've seen that guy shirtless in the locker room, AD. Like, I'm telling you, he's built for the playoffs. So I think the Ducks back end is going to be under fire. I think you have to still give the advantage in that department to Bouchard and the Oilers, so long that we see the good Bouch and not bad Bouch. But I don't have a good feel for this one, to be honest. I look at these two teams, and it's hard for me to imagine a playoff series just because the Ducks haven't been there.
Mike, Anaheim with 4 wins in their last 12. To me, this feels like a series like LA Edmonton last year, where one team could jump ahead early in the series and then the other team comes back to win it. Be it Anaheim or Edmonton, it's going to open in Alberta. Mike, this is the only series that's not going to open on Saturday or Sunday. It's going to open on Monday. So,
can we both agree we don't trust either one of these teams? Like, kind of what you said, if it's 2-0, like, the series is still very much in play.
Yeah, this is one that at 2-0 you're not thinking one way or another. It's for me like LA Edmonton last year when it was 2-0 and LA was on the verge of going up 3-0 and 3-1, and you just didn't think that was going to happen in either scenario against Edmonton. Mike, gosh, how about the Avs and the LA Kings? That second wild card went back and forth. Everybody in the league held it at some point. LA, San Jose, you had Nashville, you had Winnipeg in the hunt. You had St. Louis in the hunt for it. What do you think?
I think the LA Kings are happy to be playing the President's Trophy winners because they're not named the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
LA's lost to Edmonton the last 4 years in the first round. So I think the Kings are I was getting text from somebody who works for the Kings, and he was saying, like, okay, it's a bit of a mental hurdle for us. Edmonton is at this point. So to be playing Colorado, like it hasn't been a great year in LA. I don't particularly think this is going to be a close series. I mean, I remember watching the Kings last couple weeks of the season and thinking this is probably 4 or 5 games. Like I remember watching LA and Nashville play twice, 2 teams battling for wild card 2. And I can't remember if I told you, AD, but I remember thinking, watching those 2 games, either of these 2 teams is going to lose by 1 million to the Avs. So
yeah, I hate to say this, but is this the one series that you just say 4-0 sweep right off the hop?
It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that, and you hate writing off teams. Like, we both know better than that.
Yeah.
But like as I'm looking at the schedule and planning my week, Adrian, this is the time window where I call my parents, or I go get groceries, right? And until this series pulls me into it, I'm gonna pay attention from afar.
I gotcha, Mike. There, we did it. We went through every series, folks. It starts Saturday. You got the Senators and Hurricanes, Wild and Stars, Flyers, Penguins. Sunday, Canadiens, Lightning, Bruins, Sabres, Mammoth, Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche, and the LA Kings. But Mike, Saturday at the Delta Center, we're going to have a fun event. I can't wait to be there. You're going to be on a flight to Vegas. I'm going to be downtown Salt Lake City with Mammoth Nation, and I can't wait to tell the folks about it. And a third period coming up, they can still get involved in it. Coming up right here on Mammoth Daily.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Back here on Mammoth Daily, the Stanley Cup playoffs open for the league coming up on Saturday. Mammoth opening up with Vegas on Sunday night. But Mike, we've got just an incredible event coming up Saturday at the SeatGeek Plaza at the Delta Center, 12 p.m. You can win tickets to the playoff games because, Mike, we are hosting a Nate Schmidt lookalike contest at the Delta Center on Saturday afternoon. Going to be giving away all sorts of prizes, experiences, and just partying it up, getting ready for the first ever Mammoth playoff experience. Mammoth signed jerseys, hockey sticks, pucks, and more. A grand prize winner will get 2 Lower Bowl tickets to our first playoff game at the Delta Center, which is going to take place on Friday night. And to celebrate, everybody at the event, 15% off on the latest Mammoth merchandise in the team store. Tusky is going to be there, Mike. Our celebrity panel of judges is also going to include our very own Hockey Night in Utah's Kim Becker. Mike, I am going to be a judge. Also, Nate Schmidt's wife, Allie, going to be a judge for this Nate Schmidt lookalike contest. I think this is how it's going to go. Me, Tusky, and Kim are going to entertain, and Allie, she's married to the man. She's got her vote's the only one that matters.
So, did you get asked to judge this because you look like Nate Schmidt? Like, how did you get how'd you get the honors? I mean, I'm very jealous. I'll be in a pool in Vegas, but still very jealous.
I have noticed, Mike, over the last 2 seasons, there are just certain types of events that Kim Becker and I get invited to host.
That's going to be fantastic because Kim does an incredible job, as we know, and you do an incredible job as well. And you two together are hilarious on the radio pregame. So I can't wait. Now, my question is with the Nate Schmidt lookalike, and we were talking about this on radio Thursday night. is because when I think of Nate Schmidt lookalike, I think of mustache, right? He's got a very pronounced lip sweater, as we say. Do you have to be bald too? Like, is someone going to shave their head to try and win this competition? Like, imagine shaving your head and procuring a mustache for the hopes of winning the contest, all for nothing. I mean, it's a lot on the line. It's a big prize, but there's a lot to unpack there.
I can't wait to see it, Mike. I think it's one of those things, that we've experienced the last year and a half here in Salt Lake at the Delta Center. We're going to walk in, no idea what to expect, and we're just going to walk away impressed.
I can't wait. So a ton of fun with that. Again, that's coming up Saturday at the SeatGeek Plaza at the Delta Center, noon. And come say hi to Adrian, to Kim. Bring your mustache, bring your shiny bald head, and an 88 Schmidt jersey would probably go a long way too.
Oh yeah, we see those. Fans strongly encouraged to register in advance. Just check out Mammoth social media to get involved.
Can't wait for it. We got a big weekend, AD. We've got playoff hockey coming up on Sunday. Sunday night at the Fortress. It'll be 8 o'clock Mountain Time in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena, where the Utah Mammoth make their Stanley Cup playoff debut in Game 1. We'll have the game for you on Hockey Night in Utah on the radio side. Hopefully, we'll see a bunch of you in Vegas as well, hoping that people can make the drive. AD, we were worried that it was going to be an early game on Sunday, in which case it would have been harder for people to drive down day of. But because it's a late start Sunday night, it should be a caravan of people coming down from Salt Lake.
And Mike, I will not be there. We'll be in the Mountain Blue Studios, but my brother will be there.
Yeah.
My brother bought tickets before we had a schedule. Just knew the Mammoth were playing Vegas, and he wanted to be there for Game 1. So my brother Robert is gonna be there Sunday night at 8. These seats, Mike, are unbelievable. He's sitting right between one of the circles and the blue line, lower level, about row 20. The little guy does it right. So can't wait.
TV side or no?
It is on the TV side. He's behind the benches. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Wow. That's front and center. That's how you Denny's like to do it. Front and center. They say the most dangerous place in the world is between Adrian, Denny, and a camera. So it runs in the family. It runs in the family.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
everybody going down there, safe travels. It's 80 miles an hour on I-15, which means you drive 80 miles an hour, not 95, right? It's not drive 80 miles an hour. Be safe, drive safe, wear your seatbelts. If you're flying, enjoy the leisurely flight. You might see Mike Folta on your flight.
You might. We're kicked off the charter. We're if you didn't know, in playoffs, a lot of times you bring more staff, right? There's more medical equipment staff that's on the charter, and so instead of flying in the undercarriage department, the baggage compartment, we just fly commercial. The broadcast team, it's easier for everybody. So you might see a Utah Mammoth broadcast team backpack walking through the Delta terminal.
Mike, you're going to run into Mammoth Nation and Mammoth Daily listeners on your flight to Vegas. You know that you will.
I'm going to be back in like 34B, a middle seat, and I'm going to have 2 day-to-dayers, one on each wing.
Yep.
So middle seat, of course. Can't wait for it. Can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
So 7 o'clock, Hockey Night in Utah on the radio Sunday night. 8 o'clock, the puck drops with Mike from T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Game 2 of the series is going to take place on Tuesday. Game 3 Friday. Game 4 a week from Monday. So we'll spread it out a little bit. We'll have a good time. Mammoth and the Vegas Golden Knights. And Mike, we're excited. Of course, we'll be with all the folks Monday through Friday on Mammoth Daily. If we have a game that falls on, say, a Friday night, like Game 3, we will have a reaction show queued up and ready for the folks after Game 3.
Give everybody what they need. Playoffs require a little bit more out of all of us, especially you and I and producer Johnny as well. Suck on that, Johnny. But little extra work for you.
Yeah, Johnny just found out about the reaction shows.
That's right. Breaking news. All right, we'll see everybody at T-Mobile Arena. We'll see everybody at the airport, and we'll talk to everybody on Hockey Night in Utah. Game 1 coming Sunday night from the Fortress.